Hi everyone. In this little presentation, I want to talk about how to photograph your artwork and get it ready for an online exhibition, like the end of year exhibitions. So there's 4 stages to go through. I'm just going to talk about each of these stages in detail. The first stage, of course, is taking the photo itself. Now, ideally, you would have a beautiful photo studio set up at home with lights and cameras and copy stands and reflector boards and all that. However, for this particular demonstration, you don't need to have any of this stuff. You can actually get by with just your smartphone. So this whole demonstration is all about how to use the smartphone camera to photograph artwork. So hopefully you'll be able to achieve some really good results. So the first thing you do before you begin is set up the camera on your phone so it behaves the way you want it to behave. By that, I mean you check the settings for your camera. Turn off the flash, that's really important. We don't want any flash photography. Make sure that on your camera phone, you have chosen the largest file size setting possible. Also choose the JPEG format, because I know with some cameras, they will save it in a different format. Like for instance here, you've got the HEIF format, which is an iPhone file format. We don't want that, we just want JPEG. Okay, so once you've set up your camera, then the big debate is, do you take the photo indoors or outdoors? And I will say very confidently, always go for natural light. And I'll show you why. These are my fluoros at home. So I took a photo of an artwork under the fluoros, and this is what it looked like. And you can see quite obviously that there's like a blue cast over the top of the photo. So that's what you get with fluoro lighting. And this is the same photograph taken under tungsten lighting, which is that sort of warm yellow light. So that's what you get from that. And then of course, I took the painting outdoors and photographing with natural light. This is what I got. So side by side, you can see the difference quite clearly. And I can tell you quite confidently that the one that was taken outdoors with natural light is the most authentic photograph of the 3. It's the closest match to the original, put it that way. So if you are going to go outdoors or under natural light, the best conditions, of course, is no wind or rain. Look for a day when the sky is overcast. Look for a place to photograph your artwork which has even lighting, so no shadows and anything in the way. And of course, make sure it's a clean environment where you place the artwork. If the artwork is in a frame or behind glass, please remove it. You don't want to photograph anything that's behind glass or in a frame, preferably. Okay, so once you've taken your artwork outdoors, you find a nice, comfortable position. I've used this old chair. Position the artwork so it's front on and parallel to the camera. So what I mean is make sure that you are standing directly in front of the artwork. Make sure that the painting and the camera are lined up. So there's no distortion, there's no nasty angles. Now, the other thing that's really important is try to match the orientation of your phone to the orientation of the artwork. So in other words, if your artwork is tall or vertical, then that's the way you hold the camera, the phone. And the same if it's wide or horizontal. That's just to maximize the image area and the pixel quality of the photograph. Also, don't zoom in too close. You know, just make sure that you allow a lot of room around the artwork, as in this example. You can always crop it later on in an image editing software program. Yeah, so just avoid zooming in too close. You want that wriggle room, and take lots of photos, you know, because obviously you might have camera shake. There might be variations in lighting that you don't realize. So please take lots of photos to get the perfect shot. If you don't want to place the artwork against the wall or on a chair, you can also place it on the ground and just stand over the top of it and take a photo that way. Just make sure if you do this, make sure you zoom in and to make sure your feet or any shadows are not in the shot. That's what I mean by shadows or uneven lighting. So just watch out for that. And please, please, please do not photograph any artwork in direct sunlight, because as you can see in this example, you get so horrible reflections and horrible shiny bits that you don't want. If you are lucky to have a grey card at home or a step wedge, as in the case on the example on the right, you can actually take a photograph with and without the grey card, and then using image editing software, you can really correct the colours and the tonal values of the photograph. If you don't have a grey card, you can always just use a piece of white paper. And if you know enough about digital imaging, you can use the eyedropper tool to tell the software program, this is what is meant to be white, which is the white paper, and then you can make the corrections apply to the actual photograph without the white paper in it. If you have a tripod, even better, because that will avoid any camera shaking from your hand. But if you don't have a tripod, you can actually make one yourself. I've just made one at home using just very simple household items, hair clips and bulldog clips, and hair bands and bulldog clips, and anything straight like a ruler, and a couple of house bricks to keep it all together. So I'll just show you what it looks like when it's all together. So that's the photo of the tripod that I've made at home. And then I placed it between the two bricks to keep it all upright and steady. And then of course, if you are using a homemade tripod like this or any tripod, you can also use the self-timer option. So when you basically set it to say 10 seconds, you click the shutter. By the time you've kind of released the shutter button, the camera has settled down and there's no vibrations at all, and you take a perfectly sharp, crisp photograph. So that's what's great about the self-timer and using a tripod. Now, before you pack up everything to start saving your photographs and go into the editing stage, just check the photos on your camera to make sure that they're well taken, that they're in focus, you know, because you don't want to sort of get a nasty surprise later on when you realize, oh, hang on, there's shadows or it's out of focus. So check the photos while they're on the camera before you offload them. And that brings us to stage 2, which is offloading the photos from the camera onto your computer, getting ready for editing. Now, the way you can do that, I've got an Outlook app on my phone. This is the one that I use for my email. And so I can actually email the photos that I've taken straight from my camera to myself, and then I can play around with them later on. So when I choose to attach a photo to an email, I get this message on my Samsung phone. It says, do you want the reduced image size or do you want to keep the original? Of course, I'm going to click on the original size because that's the one that's got the most information, the most pixels. So just watch out for that when you are attaching photos to an email. The other way, of course, is you connect the cable and you can then offload the images from your phone directly onto your desktop. Once you've got the photos on your desktop or on your computer, you can then begin editing the photo, also known as image correction. So in a program like Photoshop, one thing that I might want to do is crop and align the photo. So I'll make sure that the edges of the photo are straight, and I can use the transform tools in Photoshop to do that. And I can also crop the image. I can also do corrections on tone, contrast, and color. And I can also get it ready for file output in the correct resolution, format, and file name. So just to show you what that might look like, here's the original photo straight from my Samsung phone. This is what it looks like after I've cropped it. And again, after I've modified the tone and contrast and color. So that was before and that is after. And then when I'm ready to save it, I go to export in Photoshop and choose save for web. And then I just make sure that the pixel width is 1200 pixels wide, which is the recommended pixel width for the online exhibition that we have at Melbourne Polytechnic. You can of course save it less than that or more than that. And then really important, the file name should match your caption. So in other words, the number that you assign to the photograph or to the image would decide whether it sits at the top of your web page or further down. So if it's numbered 1, it's the first image that you'll see when you go to your exhibition page, the one at the top, otherwise known as the hero image. Make sure you include your name, the title, in this case, it's a self-portrait of the artist, who is Amy, the medium, which is oil on canvas, and the size, the actual physical dimensions of the artwork, really important. So that's the file name, and that will also double as the caption on your exhibition page. Now, what if you don't have Photoshop or Krita or Procreate or any imaging software? Well, the good news is that there are free image editing softwares available. So Photopea is a website where you can manipulate the image directly onto the website, and Snapseed is an app that you can download, and it does wonderful image editing. But if I can show you a preview of Photopea, let me click on this. It's going to open up the website, as you can see. And this is now looking very much like Photoshop. It's fantastic how similar it is to Photoshop. I just have to click on Open from Computer. And I know on my desktop, I have that photograph from my Samsung. So I'm just going to open that up. And here it is. So the tools are very similar to Photoshop. I have a cropping tool, which lets me crop the image. So here we go. I can just move these corner handles in. And when I've cropped the image, when I'm happy with the crop, I can just double click in the middle. And there's my cropped image. It's also got some image adjustment tools. So I've got automatic adjustments here, auto tone, auto contrast, auto color, or I can choose levels or hue and saturation. If I just choose auto tone, you can see it's done a little bit of adjustment automatically. So that's very similar to Photoshop. I can certainly adjust the image using these little sliders up and down. You don't want to go too crazy though. So yeah, a lot of great features there. I won't save that. When you're happy with the final image, you can then go to file, not file there, sorry, file here. I keep forgetting. Go to file into the website file, and you go to export as JPEG. By the way, if you're exporting artwork that is line art, black and white, it's best to save it as a PNG. But in this case, this is an oil painting on canvas. So I'm just going to save it as a JPEG and go for full quality and just save it to your desktop. Pretty easy. So that's great. If you want to change the resolution of a photograph, for instance, if the photograph straight from your mobile phone has been saved at 300 dots per inch, not 72, you can go to image size. And here is where you can change it to 72 dots per inch. And you can also type in here the pixel width that you want for the exhibition page. And then you click OK. So that's something you can do as well in photopea.com. All right, back to the presentation. So once you have edited and manipulated the image to your liking, it's ready to upload to the OneDrive. Now, you would have received an email from me that gives you the link to the OneDrive folder to use. And you would have got an email something like this. So if you're in the advanced diploma, it would say Wanderlust exhibition folder. If you're in Epoch or Illustra, it will say Epoch or Illustra exhibition folder. And all you do is click on the link. That'll open up the folder, the OneDrive folder. And let's just say your name is Alice. You'll click on your name. You go to the button that says Upload, choose Files, and then you would look for the image. Now, this one's not saved properly, but let's say this had the proper file name. You would select the image from your desktop and click on Open, and that will load it up into your OneDrive folder, and you do the same with all the other images. I think that's it. Hopefully that has made sense and you've enjoyed the presentation. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Cheers.